Once again, we're the After the Credits show. Metal D alongside me, Mike. And we're going to review Thor, The Dark World. Now, going into Thor, I'd seen the first movie. I thought the visuals were great for the first movie. But the story kind of lacked in the first one. I'm not a huge Thor fan, so...
I was a little bit, I guess, back in my childhood, but not enough to call myself a fanboy or anything like that.
See, I've never been a fan of Thor. Like, I maybe have 3 Thor comics in my whole collection. But, like, everything else they're making, like Iron Man, Hulk, all those, I've always been a fan. Just Thor has never been my cup of tea.
Sure.
Which is odd, because I like Greek mythology and all that. Just never been a fan of Thor.
There's a lot of stuff going on in his stuff, though, too. You know?
True.
And you gotta really stick with it, otherwise it's easily to get lost, very easy to get lost.
He's a guy with a hammer and long blonde hair.
That he is. Yes.
So anyways, Thor, The Dark World. We both saw this movie yesterday.
Yep.
Not together.
Nope. Separate times.
The movie starts out a little slow.
Yeah, it starts out with a quick explanation of what's going on who's going to be the baddie in this movie and stuff like that. And, I don't know. It just... The beginning of this movie was just kind of peculiar. I don't understand why they had to go through all that rigmarole. Why not just do it while the movie was progressing?
Exactly. One thing I liked about the first movie was the fact that it kind of started on Earth.
Right.
And so we had, like, these grounded characters... and they were thrown into this. Whereas this time we start with the out there stuff and slowly get to the more real world stuff.
Right. And I don't know if it really worked in this particular time.
No, and it seemed like the first hour of the movie there was really not much comedy. It was all deathly serious. This is what's going on, blah, blah, blah.
See, that's the thing about this whole thing. One of the things that I did not like about the writing of this movie is that there was about 2.5 minute blocks of just comedy, and you got one in the first hour, and then you got one in right before all hell breaks loose toward the end of the movie. And I think if the comedy would have been spread out, throughout the movie, then it might have worked a little bit better. But it was like they were trying to do too much in that 2 minute, maybe 3 minute period. And it just didn't come off very well.
Which is sad, because with a character like Loki, you can throw comedy in there easily.
Right.
You have Kate Dennings, who's on Two Broke Girls. Not particularly my cup of tea, but she can be funny.
Yeah.
And those were the characters I expected to get the comedy from, and it was very little.
Yep.
The best comedy came from Thor doing weird things, like getting into a car or walking into the apartment, hanging
up his hammer. That was pretty funny. I enjoyed that, but... they just tried to do too much in a short amount of time, right there. The whole thing in the apartment was a whole comedy skit, basically, is what it was.
Right. The problem I have with Marvel movies, like, I love Marvel movies, but I had to go see this because I won't know what's going on in the next movie if I don't go see it.
Right.
So they're just building on this, hey, you need to go see this.
And this really, to me, was... This actually was the first one after the Avengers.
Right.
You got Iron Man 3, but this is the one that really set up what's going to happen in the future with the Avengers, and even Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man 3 was the first movie after the Avengers. However, it didn't really do much to set up that next film that they're going to do, whereas this one did.
Yeah, definitely. And I liked the inclusion of Loki turning into Captain America. That was a nice little surprise in there.
That was interesting. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
But with all this shit going down, I'm sorry, you need to plan this out. Thor is dealing with this shit. None of the Avengers show up.
Right.
They're in the same universe. It's been established. I'm sorry, this is a big threat over in London.
Nobody even from S.H.I.E.L.D. showed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's trying to get a hold of them on the phone, and nobody answers.
Exactly. So, I mean, and watching, say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on TV, you see that there is a hub of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Somebody would have answered the phone.
It's like, what's the point of having S.H.I.E.L.D. and what's the point of having the Avengers if they're not there to help in some way,
This did pump me up more for Captain America, though.
A little bit.
I'm looking forward to that, seeing Captain America, Black Widow, and Nick Fury again.
Sure. You mean it didn't help? It probably helped that we actually saw the trailer prior to the movie,
yes,
too.
That probably helps as well.
Yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. And you know, I am looking forward to this second wave of films and stuff like that. And you know, I'm happy that this one actually kind of laid some seeds for it. But the execution of this movie was just lacking. I thought the visuals were great. I thought, you know, all the special effects in the world though is not going to save a terrible movie. And the writing in this movie and the pacing of this movie was just dreadful in my opinion. You guys may argue it
and you went with the director who worked on Game of Thrones, so at least you had somebody that could get the feel and the look right.
Right.
But a little more time should have been spent on the script.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the feel and the look of the movie was great. I don't have any problems with that whatsoever, you know. But it was just the pacing. It was just that first hour was just dreadful. I mean,
and if you're gonna go so far to establish the Warriors 3 with Thor, you need to use them a little bit more.
Yeah, that would help.
I mean, they were in this movie, what, maybe 10 minutes where they actually mattered?
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
You got Zach Levi from Chuck playing one of them, and I think I saw him maybe 5 times in the whole movie.
Yep, and a lot of that was just like snippets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, what would you grade this movie?
I'm going to give it a C, you know, because I thought the visuals were good. I thought it laid good groundwork for the Avengers movies, but I just, as a movie on its own, it just kind of fell flat for me. So I'm giving it a C.
I'm going with a C minus. I didn't have that much interest in Thor going into this movie. Mm-hmm. This movie didn't help that. I thought Loki's scenes, they were very minimal. I mean, I know he had Avengers and blah, 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 but this was, let's be honest, this movie's not about Thor. It's supposed to be about Loki.
Right.
And I just didn't feel like...
Well, by the end of the film, it became kind of about Loki.
But,
you know, it didn't have enough.
The last half an hour of this movie is what redeemed it for me, but it took a long time to get there.
It took a long time to get there, and at times it was hard to get there.
Since 2010,
we've been reviewing films
for your pleasure.